Hey guys! In this video, I will be explaining my reasons for quitting WoW Classic. I started playing WoW Classic only a few months after it first came out, and I played it all the way to pretty much the end of Wrath, which comes out to just over 4 years. Throughout Classic, I've experienced and accomplished a lot, such as getting Realm Firsts, top speedrun rankings, Scarab Lord, becoming a guildmaster, leveling 40 ults, and more. I was barely halfway through university when the pandemic hit, causing everyone to stay indoors for a very long time. WoW was just the perfect game to play while I was forced to stay in my apartment and do my classes online. Throughout Vanilla Classic, one of the most annoying tasks to do was to get world buffs. I was in a hardcore progression and speedrunning guild, so every raider was required to show up to raid with full world buffs. On top of that, I found ways to efficiently world buff 8 to 10 other characters a week just to play in alt raids and GDKPs, because even on an alt, playing without world buffs was just not as fun. In TBC and Wrath, I became a guildmaster myself and took on even more tasks outside of just raiding. I leveled even more characters for fun, and I was pretty much only playing WoW outside of doing my classes and homework at this point. Now that I look back on just how much I've done in the past few years, it sounds like a lot, but at the time, it didn't feel tiring because I was having fun. So, why did I quit? The first reason is that the environment changed. During the pandemic, everyone was also putting in a lot of effort into the game, and it made the environment feel very hardcore. WoW Classic truly happened at the best time possible, and I honestly feel like it wouldn't have gotten as much hype as it did if we weren't also going through quarantine. Our guild ended up getting 11 Scarab Lords, which is crazy, considering even getting one in the guild is a huge accomplishment. However, when I reformed my guild after my GM quit in TBC, things started slowing down as the quarantine days were ending and more people had to quit the game to focus on their IRL jobs. Less competition also meant less effort coming from my raiders. They didn't feel the need to try as hard anymore, because eventually, I needed them more than they needed me. We were still performing pretty well for how dry recruitment was, but it no longer felt like the hype was there compared to in Vanilla Classic when there were way more players. TBC was also not as popular of an expansion as Vanilla, so it might have a contributing factor as well. The next reason is the hardcore aspect of the game.
Classic WoW has cultivated a more hardcore community.
No, it has not. So the idea that they should keep making the game harder to appeal to people that keep getting better, the only thing that does is it makes it harder for new players to become those players. Hardcore players will always find ways to make games more challenging on their own. Like, speedrunning, for example.
So, I agree that the devs should do whatever it takes to keep the game alive. Personally, I've always been a tryhard at every game I play, and there is nothing wrong with it. There are tryhards in every single game, even if the game isn't designed to be hardcore. The problem with WoW is that the game is becoming more designed around the tryhards, which isn't necessarily good. Every game needs a healthy population of players in order for it to be fun, especially MMOs. In fact, once a large portion of the population quit WoW Classic, it also affected the hardcore community. Of course, I'm not talking about the world-first guilds, but guilds like ours that just want to push our limits on a top server or region level barely have enough players to fill our rosters because the game isn't as alive as it used to be. This leads to another point. playing WoW Classic the way that I have fun playing is very time consuming. Raiding is absolutely my favorite thing to do in Classic, but because each character can only raid once a week due to lockouts, I had to level another alt for each extra raid I wanted to do, which I did. My husband and I ended up with a combined total of 40 characters by the end of Wrath. Although I wasn't simultaneously raiding on all of them every week because it was physically impossible to do, it was still directly helpful towards filling my own rosters. If I needed a specific role to fill in for that week, I would just fill with whoever I could find, then swap to whichever role was left to fill. And if I didn't do that, I would just have to spend more time every week to fill that role. So it's not like there was an easier way around it. There just weren't enough high-level players to fill all my raids, and lowering expectations was not really an option for the level of success I wanted to output. The hardcore aspect of Classic used to feel more like a challenge, such as seeing how fast you could clear the raid, how fast you could prog at the start of each tier, but eventually, a lot of being hardcore also came with endless time-consuming tasks, such as trying to fill your rosters with quality players, recruiting quality players on a dead server, and so much more. It just didn't feel like I was being as competitive anymore. Essentially, I was just spending more time on the game while still accomplishing less. Having to spend more time on the game meant that I had to sacrifice more things, such as my health. I was so invested into succeeding in the game that it became my life. If I needed to lose out on sleep or order delivery to make time to finish a task in the game, I would. By the end of Wrath, I was creating rosters and doing assignments for 10 raids a week. And I didn't just use a random template to make these assignments. For every new raid that was released, I always made my own assignment sheet so that I could fine-tune it and add whatever detailed information that I needed to. It made a huge impact on our raid's success, and the results showed that everything I did, both inside and outside of our raids, contributed to our success. On top of that, I was recruiting whenever I could, responding to a lot of DMs, and managing the guild bank as well. I stopped working out, ruined my sleep schedule, developed a horrible diet, and just didn't really care about my health in general because I was so focused on making sure I was as successful as possible in a video game. It sounds stupid now, but I also wouldn't have changed anything because it was my passion. However, after a few years, it was finally time to end the Degen lifestyle. I knew it wasn't going to last forever, and when the time came to end it, it felt right to me. Another reason why I was having fun playing WoW Classic was because I had a lot of friends in the community that I enjoyed playing with. Regardless of how hardcore you are, it's still an MMO, and having people to play with matters a lot. Most of my friends that have stuck around since I met them at the start of Classic gradually quit for various reasons. Some of them got busy with work, some weren't interested in playing TBC or Wrath, and some moved on with their lives and just didn't have the time to play anymore. I get it, things change that cause people to stop playing. After all, it's just a video game, and obviously, IRL is more important. However, it really affected how I viewed the game. And it wasn't until most of my friends quit that I realized how much of my fun had come from playing with people I enjoyed being around. I could have transferred to a more hardcore server, but it just wouldn't feel the same. During mid-expansion of Wrath, I even joined an alliance guild once all the hardcore horde guilds died to compete for server firsts and speedruns. And although the hardcore aspect was fun, the people were generally nice and we were pretty successful, it still didn't feel like home compared to playing with the same group of people I've been playing with since the start of Classic. Even the few people that were still around eventually all decided to quit after Wrath as well. So by the end of Wrath, I was left with pretty much no friends left to play with, which greatly influenced my decision to quit as well. So the big question I always get asked is, would I ever come back to Classic? And the short answer is no, but I want to explain why. During these few years, I have actually learned a lot about myself from this experience, and I think it's very valuable. I learned that I'm the type to do whatever it takes to achieve my goals. I'm patient, I'm competitive, I like to be a leader, I genuinely like to help others, and I actually have decent social skills after interacting with so many people throughout my WoW career. I don't regret being a degenerate for the past few years, but I also wouldn't go back. In the future, I would like to focus more on taking care of myself and making sure I set boundaries for myself so I don't overwork too much. One may ask, what about playing casually? And to that I say, there is no such thing as casual for me. I derive my fun from tryharding and min-maxing in literally any game I play. If I tried to play WoW casually, it just wouldn't be fun for me, so there would be no point. Also, whenever I do try to play a game casually, I end up back in the same tryhard mindset eventually. And I definitely don't want to fall back into that rabbit hole with WoW Classic again. It's for the best. Anyway, thank you guys once again for listening to my story, and I have a question for you if you also played WoW Classic. Why did you quit? Leave your answer in the comments below, and I will read all of them. Also, if you have any questions for me, drop it in the comments as well. If you enjoyed watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, turn on the notification bell, because I will be releasing a 3-part series of my WoW Classic journey in detail, so that you guys will get to know exactly just how much time I spent and how much I did throughout WoW Classic, and hopefully have a better understanding of why I finally quit. Stay tuned, and I will see you guys in my next video.